Welcome to the Bucher and Friends podcast, co-starring 10-year NBA center Ryan Hollins.
Couple pump fakes, leans in, shot blocked by Ryan Hollins. Hollins sent that into the third row.
6 rebounds and 8 assists.
Hollins climbs the stairs.
Down the floor. Ryan Hollins! He is the high jumper!
That's what I want to see. Give me some gunpowder and throw the hammer down.
And now, here is your host,
Let's send it over to Rick Bucher.
Rick Bucher.
So we're going live with this edition of Bucher and Hollins, subsidiary of Bucher and Friends, part of the United WeCast network. I'm Rick Bucher. You can see my stuff on Bleacher Report. You can find me on Twitter at Rick Bucher. He is Ryan Hollins, NBA vet. You can see him on ESPN. You can hear him on NBA radio. You can see him on Clippers broadcasts. And obviously you can follow him here. You can also follow him at the Ryan Hollins on Twitter. And you can follow the show at Bucher Friends on both Twitter and Instagram. So your guys made one of the big moves. Essentially, we can get into all the particulars, but they dealt Tobias Harris to the Philadelphia 76ers for at least 2 of those sweet first-round picks that they have, including one belonging to Miami. I see this as a cap dump, opening up cap space. They've now got space for a maximum deal. This is all about creating room for Kawhi Leonard and picking up some future picks. What do you make of the trade? Do you like it, and who do you like it more for?
Well, as a former player, it's always tough being traded because, you know, it puts in your mind that you failed. Puts in your mind that you're not good enough, that you weren't worth the team fighting for. And you step back and you take your emotions out of it. And like you brought out, the Clippers just cleared a lot of cap space. And the reality was you had to evaluate Tobias Harris, and you ask yourself, is Tobias Harris a franchise player? Because he's playing so well that he's essentially going to command a max contract. You know, he's going to go, his people are going to come to the table. He's going to say, I'm in the 40, 50, 90 club, 40% from 3, 50 from 2, and 90 from the foul line, you know, at the small forward position. And he's going to command a lot of money. So you had to make a choice now because he refuses the extension last year, and the Clippers move him to Philly, who has to win now. And in return, you get Wilson Chandler, Shamet, a nice piece for the future, and you get a first-round draft pick. So you set yourself up even nicer, as you brought out, for Kawhi Leonard and possibly another star because, you know, it may not be the Lakers, but L.A. is L.A.
Yeah, so, I mean, essentially when it comes to Tobias is you can put all those numbers up. As you know, best player on a team or one of the key players is going to put up numbers. But are they winning numbers? And clearly that wasn't the case for the Clippers. I also feel as if they just got bigger fish to fry here. The idea, since Jerry West has joined them, is to make room to acquire Kawhi Leonard, and then because Jerry West cultivated a relationship with KD, that if they get Kawhi Leonard there, that they're then going to be able to go and convince KD to come down and join them as well. Now, I don't know that they have the cap space for both of those guys. It would have to be a deal, but if you're looking at the Warriors and you can find a way to pick up some draft picks, some quality draft picks, and replenish the coffers, then that's certainly something that you'd look at as a sign and trade. The Knicks have the same idea in mind. They've opened up maximum cap space, and their idea is everybody's fixated on it being KD and Kyrie, but it could just as well be Kawhi and KD going there.
Well, here's the reality. If you're a large market team, you're in a beautiful city, you have the opportunity to clear cap space and get into this hunt and free agency because guys are going to want to play in New York. They're going to want to play in L.A. And now maybe we go down the list of Chicago, potentially Miami. You see them moving some assets around. But if you're Milwaukee, you're Utah, you're Sacramento, you've got to get better by trade. And it's interesting. We talked about Dallas last week. And what Dallas did is just said, Mark Cuban said, by any means necessary, I'm going to get my hands on Porzingis and Luka. And then I'll let everything else figure itself out. I'll give up first-round picks. I'll give up my last year's top picks, and we'll figure everything out from there. But each team has to devise its own strategy of means of getting better.
This is what I've always appreciated about Mark Cuban. He doesn't stutter. He doesn't hesitate. His finger doesn't tremble on the trigger. He makes his mind up what he wants to do, and then he goes and he does it. In this, it doesn't mean that he always gets it right, though. And
I was about to ask. You're getting really excited over there.
Well, but that I just appreciate it. He goes up to the plate and he takes his swings. There's plenty of, there's plenty of teams out there that they talk the talk, they don't walk it. They don't go out and try to make big moves. Mark Cuban's always been about making big moves, and I appreciate it. They don't always work out, but I'd rather have a guy who's swinging through the fences than a guy that's just, trying to get singles. So in this case, your point is made. Like, let's get Kristaps and Luka and then build around that. I'd feel better about that plan if I knew what Kristaps was and I knew where he was after this injury that we've talked about on this podcast about why is it taking so long? He's not going to play this season. And if you're building around this guy, if he's one of those key components, I'd like to know that he's ready to go. And even more important than the health is, what is he really? Because he's had, one good half season? And then he's shown signs of wear when he's got to carry the load. That doesn't fill me full of confidence.
I like him for one. He can shoot. He's big, and that's a dangerous combination. And from playing against him, he's got some dog in him, and he wants to grow. And ACL doesn't bother me as much for a guy that big and that nimble and athletic. We'll see how injuries continue to plague him. Keep in mind, Kyrie Irving was another guy injury plagued, and now we look at him as an NBA champ, and he's trying to climb his way into the record books and trying to achieve legend status in the league. So, Rick, I'm comfortable with Porzingis. I'm really comfortable with that move, and just having trust in him.
All right. Well, look, we'll see. Ultimately. How do you feel about what the Clippers did? Not only Tobias Harris, Boban Marjanovic. Actually, let's flip it around. What does this do for Philadelphia? How does it change where you see them in the Eastern Conference?
It's funny. My dude, Emil El Hassan, goes, man, they have too many Chiefs and not enough Indians in Philly. And I want to just scream through my television set, bro, have you watched Tobias Harris play? Tobias Harris is literally, he's the ultimate compliment to a superstar. Why? Because he can get his shot without needing the ball in his hands. He's very comfortable playing off the ball and arguably may be the best player in the league at capitalizing off a closeout. He's so efficient, Rick. Literally, if he gets an open three, he's like a machine. Like, it is in. And then if you go flying at him, he shot fake one dribble, either getting to the hole or shooting that one dribble pull-up. So he's a guy that doesn't need, and I don't want to say doesn't want, but he's the perfect complement to play off of somebody. So, we've always said that Tobias Harris is the fourth piece on a championship team. Like, he's that good. But I'm not asking him to be the first or second. He's the third or fourth piece on a championship team. So that's what makes this move. When I say dangerous, incredibly dangerous because of him, and absolutely he fits in.
You didn't answer my question. How does he change the dynamic of the Eastern Conference?
Look, at the end of the day, I want to see what Boston has. I want to see what Boston
you're back on Boston.
I want to see
Wait a minute. Hold on. That's a newsflash. Last time we talked about Boston, you were telling me all about their problems. They're not this, they're not that. These boys are...
I'm not big. I'm not big on I'm not big on them. I don't like the way they've carried themselves in the season. But if I had to put my money down, and you're going to force me to put my money down, they come out to play in the playoffs. And the biggest star would be Kyrie Irving. So I'm not losing my mind with it. But if you got to pin me down and I say everybody's locked up, everybody knows everybody's plays, it comes down to having a guy who can go get his own shot. I trust Kyrie better than I do Jimmy and a couple of these other guys. But Philly is incredibly intriguing because they're going 1 through 5, bro. They're going 1 through 5, and they're sending some fire at you with Tobias, with Jimmy, with Ben, with Embiid. But and I even like the Raptors too. But I'm not sold on Milwaukee, so we're not even having that conversation.
Right.
But I will stick with Boston right now if I got to. Kyrie is that dude.
All right. We're going to cut out of the Insta live portion of this podcast. The next time we do this, we'll do it full live and we'll do the full show for your viewing enjoyment here on Instagram. All right. So let me tell you about my day. It was an interesting day. It's obviously the day before the trade deadline, but it was an interesting day because I got a phone call from Rich Paul. And we didn't connect. He sent me a message, said, hey, I'm trying to reach you. And I had heard some stuff about, like, there was just craziness going on inside the Lakers. That Armageddon was the way it was described. And that LeBron and Rich Paul were not happy with the Lakers. And the Lakers weren't happy with LeBron and Rich Paul. The Lakers felt that LeBron and Rich Paul were the ones who leaked all the names of the players who were in the deal going to the Pelicans. So they felt like they're trying to either undermine us or they're trying to force us to move these guys because now the waters are poisoned here. And I talked to Rich and he said, look, that's false. He goes, legally, I can't talk to the Lakers about a deal. He had two issues. But it wasn't so much that he was aware that the Lakers were ticked off at him. He was not happy about the image of him carrying the water for LeBron. That basically his job was to deliver AD to the Lakers. He took exception to that. He also took exception to the premise that I discussed on Sports Business Radio, another podcast, that LeBron has a stake in the Clutch Agency. He said, hey, look, the league's vetted it. They checked it out. He said, I built this agency. He felt it was disrespectful to the work that he's done to build the agency. He said, is LeBron the greatest cheerleader? Absolutely. But is he benefiting from it? The league has checked it out. Now, I've had people from Nike and others who will maintain that, come on, bro, LeBron's got a piece of it. But Rich Paul wanted it known that innuendo is not accurate. Also told me that they're resigned to staying in New Orleans until this summer. They're not expecting to get moved. Also confirmed that if Boston does do a deal for AD will not be resigning, no matter what, in Boston. Now, Anthony Davis Sr., AD's dad, first came out with that, but Rich is confirming that is the stance of the entire Anthony Davis camp. So I don't know what you want to make of that, Ryan, but that's some of what was going on with me today. Golly.
I mean, this deal is just getting ugly.
Yeah.
It is getting ugly.
There is, and you saw like LeBron sitting at the end of the bench, 2-3 seats between them. Rajon Rondo goes down, gets a towel. Could have sat right there. He went all the way back and sat on the other side of the coaches rather than take a seat next to LeBron. And when Rajon first got there, I don't know if I said it on the podcast, I said it to somebody. I wondered how that relationship was going to work. That to me was going to be, you and I think, talked about it. We talked about, like, if LeBron's not doing the right thing, Rajon's going to call him out. If he's not rotating defensively, Rajon's not going to hesitate to say, hey, brah, don't look around. You're the one who's not getting it done. And look, we're just reading body language and the sidelines, but there's not a good feel there. And honestly, Ryan, I don't know if you've ever experienced this where there's a divide between the best player and the so-called leader of the team. But we saw it in Chicago. We saw it with Jimmy Butler and Dwayne Wade, and they survived and made the playoffs, but that was about it. I don't know that this Lakers team is talented enough that if there's a divide between LeBron and the rest of the team, that they're going to find a way to make the playoffs, or if they do make the playoffs, that they're going to make any noise when they get there.
Well, the best part is that the Clippers kind of just made a move for next year, a move for the future, a cat move. And you would safely assume that they're going to drop some games. Now, until they do it, they do it. But that actually helped secure that 8th spot. And now all you have to worry about is the Sacramento Kings, who, just improved their roster with Harris and Barnes, really puts LA in a dangerous place. And I feel like obviously like moves at this point have to be made, but there's this idea that no one wants to help the Lakers front office out. Things have gotten so ugly and seemingly so arrogant from the Lakers side and LeBron's side that you're not going to get help from the rest of the league, which is really, really intriguing.
Yeah.
And it's even worse that it seems that things are kind of imploding from the inside out as they begged and pleaded to get LeBron there. And now that you couldn't build from around him, what benefit would it do, which is funny, for Rich to leak the names in the deal? It's not going to make the deal go any faster. If in fact it does comes to sense, I don't buy that either.
Yeah, certainly Rich made a valid case to me. Ultimately, I don't know whether he did or he didn't. I'm going to trust him when he says that he didn't. The fact of the matter is the Lakers believe, from what I've been told, that he did. And that relationship, there's some real questions about that relationship. And as you just said, like the rest of the league doesn't want the Lakers to succeed. They are all unified in their willingness to work against the Lakers. But you wouldn't expect that from Rich Paul and LeBron James. Like you would hope that if there was any relationship that is still good that the Lakers have, it would be with their superstar and his agent, who also represents Anthony Davis. And that does not appear to be the case, at least at the present time.
Man.
The drama absolutely continues. One of the other deals made, the Chicago Bulls moved Bobby Portis and Jabari Parker to the Washington Wizards for Otto Porter Jr. And this obviously is just getting off some salary by the Washington Wizards now that John Wall, this is connected to John Wall going down with the Achilles tear that's going to keep him out for a year. And for the Bulls, I think it's a very smart move. It's the 2 free agents. You hate to give up Bobby Portis because that was a nice find, but you got to give up something. They desperately needed a vet, a solid vet, a good dude, a pro in that Chicago Bulls locker room. And that's what they get in Otto Porter, and they got him locked up for a couple of years. He's a great guy to put next to Zach LaVine to basically help Zach LaVine along, to be a pro, to be a leader, etc. I do have to ask you, what was your first reaction when you heard that John Wall tore his Achilles at home when he slipped?
One, I'm deeply concerned because I know the frustration of an athlete to know that not only can you not play the sport you love, but now you're going to be out even more time, and you possibly just got the injury that going to end your career. It's going to be tough, and I wonder if this is the same leg, or the opposite leg that this is happening on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really intrigued with how that's going to play out. And secondly, he had to have been doing something he shouldn't have been doing, because he should be, pretty much bedridden after that heel surgery. So to tear your Achilles tells me you were doing something. This is not an old man. You know what I'm saying? Like I immediately thought of, you get really old, or you hear somebody like, hey, how'd you tear your ACL? Or one of the family friends of ours just tore her ACL. She said, I fell in the shower. Like, John Wall is not an old man, okay? He's not an old man. So what happened there? I'll spill milk at this point, but I am a little intrigued with that. And, just best wishes, man, because that agony, there's nothing like that, man, of missing,
Well, here's the challenge for John Wall, too, moving forward. He's going to have to reinvent his game. He's not going to be the same explosive John Wall when he gets back. No guy ever is after an Achilles tear. Now, the size that he has at the point guard position, and I believe his game is more cerebral than people give him credit for. And I think he's more dedicated to the game than people give him credit for. But he's going to have to reinvent himself the way Grant Hill reinvented himself, the way that Jason Kidd reinvented himself in finding a different way to play. Do I think he has the requisite ability to do it? I do. But make no mistake about it, that's the challenge with him facing forward. It's not just that he's missing a year. He's losing an element that made that John, in many cases, relied on that made him better than other guys, even when he wasn't necessarily playing the best basketball. You couldn't deal with the speed.
Yeah, I mean, he's athletic enough to be serviceable. I mean, we got it to the point where we saw this from Derrick Rose. So a freak athlete, he comes down to being a normal NBA athlete if healthy. And like I said, this is all mental. There's no part about this that is not going to be mental. And that's why my hat goes off to Boogie Cousins for coming back and competing. We can all see he's not the athlete that he was, but just his toughness, bro, to get back on the court.
Well, it was Carlos Boozer with the broken hand who got it. What was the excuse? It was a suitcase. It was he fell into a door. It was.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Some of these.
That don't sound right, yeah.
Vladimir Radmanovich, I remember that one because he got the nickname Half Pipe. He separated his shoulder, and I forget what his original excuse was, but then he finally fessed up. And he had been snowboarding, which, as I know, with NBA contracts, is one of the things that you're prohibited from doing. All right,
Definitely
so
not supposed to do.
Ultimately, if nothing happens to Anthony Davis, what happens to Anthony Davis?
It's gonna get ugly, bro. And for the Pelicans, see, this is the thing. It's gonna get ugly on the Lakers standpoint. But here's the problem: do the Pelicans even care if it gets ugly on their standpoint? So are you going to turn into the team that's just willing to say, "Hey, I'm not going to sign any free agent, coming up. No one's going to want to come here. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to screw over Anthony Davis. I'm going to hold him here, and I'm going to screw him over, and I'm going to screw over the Lakers too, because we don't care about winning. And we could make a move with the Lakers that would drastically improve our roster. But you know what? We're not going to do that. Because this is some spiteful mess right here. This is some spite. You had the guy for 7 years and you couldn't get it done. And when you didn't sign Boogie Cousins back, Achilles injury or not, they gave him the Suge Knight deal. They said, "Hey Boogie, you got 48 hours to take $15 or $20 million. Take it or leave it." And man, don't disrespect me like that after y'all begged me to come. Are you kidding me? So they're trying to do the same with Anthony. So hey man, whatever this mob style, gangster ball mentality, man, it needs to go.
All right. I'm sure there's some spite that's involved here.
Oh,
I'm sure
200%.
But passing on the Lakers deal is not a bad decision because what else is available out there? Now, I did hear that the Knicks at one point offered Porzingis and a first-round pick. I doubt it was their first-round pick, and if it was, I'm sure it was protected and not this year's pick. Maybe it was a future pick. I don't know what the parameter was, but New Orleans turned that down. Now, what do you make of that? If that's true, what do you make of New Orleans turning down getting Kristaps and a first-round pick versus what the Lakers are offering?
If that happens, they're just in their feelings right now. If that happens, how are they managing this? Like, you took him off your highlight video. Yeah. Everybody knows there's more and more information coming out. Anthony Davis is a very clean basketball player. There's no baggage with him. The guy's never had an incident, always plays hard. He's never embarrassed you in front of the media. And now you want to force this thing to get ugly because he doesn't want to,
Always plays hard? Always plays hard?
He plays hard. He plays hard.
Always plays hard.
He may not play defense. I'm not a fan of some of his defense. He's not going to come out the game, but
that's
he plays
part of
hard.
Playing hard.
No, he's got a high motor, Rick. The guy has to stay on the floor. That's just using some type of intelligence. No one needs him to foul out when he doesn't have other support at the rim. He's a weak side shot blocker. He's not a strong side shot blocker. Let's already initiate that. But nah, man, this thing.
There's just too many.
Get ugly.
There's just too many games where, as talented as Anthony Davis is, I lose sight of him on the floor. I got to look around. Is AD? Oh, there he is. Like, there's just times where he's not as present as a player of his talent I would expect to be.
Quick note. So apparently Harrison Barnes was traded while he was still sitting on the bench. Awkward.
Really?
Mm.
To where?
Marc Cuban. You something else, Mark.
What deal was he in?
Oh, you didn't know that? Harrison Barnes is the Sacramento King now. Vlade was like, yo, get him out the game right now.
So what are they getting back?
Zach Randolph, and Jackson. Yeah, no, he's not a rookie. His second year. Wow. They traded Bro. They traded Bro mid-game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they're done salary because they just took on a lot of salary with Tim Hardaway Jr. So something had to give.
Harrison Barnes goes into Sacramento to be the designated vet. He's basically Otto Porter. That's what he is.
Well, they're trying to make a run for the playoffs, so I think Harrison is going to fit. They didn't really have they're decent, but they didn't really, he gives you something. They need him.
What does he give him?
He's a new NBA player, man. He's big. He's versatile. I mean, he can play ball.
You can't define it because
Harrison Barnes can hoop. I've played against Harrison. Like, he can flat out hoop.
I covered Harrison for years with the Golden State Warriors.
And he laid an egg in the finals. He didn't show up. So, but if that's the time I'm going to judge him off of, which to me, that's not fair. I'm not judging him just off the finals, and he's not a number one option.
Yes.
If that's what we're asking, too.
Yes.
No, I like it. I'm not going, this is the, like, am I going crazy over Philly? Like, Tobias is the number one option? No, he's a huge piece. So I'm just saying that, like, he's a good piece.
Yeah.
Piece, not the piece. He's a good piece.
Okay. I don't know if that puts, do you think that puts Sacramento over the top as far as being a playoff team?
No, we're not running with that. Okay. We're not running with that.
Okay.
I think it's a good chance, and he plays better in a fast system, and Sacramento's playing fast, so he's like up to speed on what's going on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. He's a good fit. He's a good fit. He's an upgrade. I don't know if it ultimately makes a difference. That's where I would go with that. Going back to the New Orleans Pelicans, though, and the fact that they're, by all appearances, are not going to move Anthony Davis before the trade deadline. Spite or not, it's a smart move. Find out who has the top picks. Find out who you can get in the draft. Find out what the Knicks pick is. Because if they get Kevin Durant, I guarantee you they're willing to give up that pick to add Anthony Davis to the equation if that's what KD wants. So I'm okay. And since there are other teams out there, just see what the value is. Doing it right now, you're negotiating with one team that's willing to throw everything your direction. And it's just not enough for me. If LeBron's there for the next 2-3 years, then their draft picks aren't going to be very good. You're not expected to be in the lottery, or if you are, it's low lottery. Otherwise, you're getting a bunch of guys from the Lakers who are good players, but we've seen what they are without LeBron James. To me, if you're in New Orleans, tell me one of the players. Here's the thing: if you're in New Orleans, you got to find a way to replace a star. You got to find a star. Are any of those guys that you would get from the Lakers? You see any of them evolving into a bona fide star, cornerstone star?
Brandon Ingram has that potential, and I mean, darn, if I compare him with another guy, you act like they're not rolling with the piece of that young nucleus from the Lakers. They hadn't benefited already from Julius Randle. And those guys are, have a way higher ceiling than Julius. And Julius is a good player in his respect. So, no, those are really good. To me, darn near, the Lakers put too much up. What are you going to have left? They put too much up.
That's the other part. I mean, for the Lakers,
if that was a real deal, if that deal was really proposed, that's too much.
What deal are you talking about?
It was Kuzma, Ingram, Rondo, Lance, 2 first round. Are you serious?
Yeah. The picks, I would have to have multiple picks. Here's the thing. If I'm New Orleans, I am asking for the sky. I am asking for a ridiculous number. 3-4 picks. And by the way, look at what the Clippers got for Tobias Harris and Boban and all that. I mean, they got, let me see if I can pull it back up. By the way, on the Carlos Boozer thing, here was his explanation. He was with the Bulls. It was just dark, my doorbell rang, and I tripped over a gym bag, tried to brace myself, and it popped. I jumped back up, opened the door, and my hand was still a little numb. That's his explanation for breaking his hand. All right.
I don't know.
Just wanted to share that with you.
Interesting.
All right. Now, when it comes to the trade that the Philadelphia 76ers made with the Clippers, multiplayer deal, but the picks involved, Los Angeles gets Philadelphia's own protected 2020 first-round pick, the Miami Heat's unprotected 2021 first-round pick, and the Detroit Pistons' 2021 and 2023 second-round picks, and then it gets into other particulars. If you're getting that for Tobias Harris and Boban Marjanovic, you should be asking for at least 3 first-round picks for Anthony Davis. I mean, that's the going rate based on that market, no?
Well, you got to sit back and say, you know what? The Clippers front office is taking care of business, and they're not waiting. They haven't waited since Jerry West, Lawrence Frank got there. They haven't waited. It was like, okay, we just signed Blake Griffin. Yeah, hooray. And it's like, you know what? While this guy still has value, you know what? We're going to make it seem like you signed him, Pistons, and we're going to trade him and you can have him. Before the guy even gets cooking into what he's going to be, while all the dreams and goals are there, we're going to trade him and we're going to make that move with you. And they're like, we'll take a star like Blake. We don't have anything like that. Then Philly goes, man, we could really use that. And, you know, the second half of the season hadn't even come, and they're willing to part ways. Keep in mind, the Clippers are in the 8th spot. Just had 2 huge wins, and they still made that move. So it was very Danny Ainge-ish, where you're willing to do the deal while it's there. You're not going to wait. You're not going to fall in love with it. And that's money.
Yeah, there's also, it's interesting because this is why teams that contend generally don't make these kind of deals at this point. And the league is helped by moving the trade deadline up. But still, you're looking at the time that the Sixers have to get this group together and rolling. And not just playing basketball together, but playing at a level that's going to allow them to go through Toronto and Boston. And so that's where I get it from the Clippers end. Like, hey, let's strike while it's hot. And again, I like definitive plans. They went, you know what, 8th seed, sneaking into the playoffs. That's not enough for us. We're going for something bigger. Clearly, having the opportunity to clear some cap space and knowing that Tobias was good, but not good enough for them to reload on, they decided to make a move. And I'm perfectly fine with them going that way. Before we say goodbye, Marc Gasol and Mike Conley are both on the block. It's been publicly known that they're available. Are there particular places that you'd like to see them wind up, that they could make a difference with the next team that they're with?
Well, I talked about this on Memphis radio. I really like to see, Gasol, if by some means, playing San Antonio. I don't know what San Antonio would give up, or they'd be willing to kind of will and deal that way. But I just think him in that system would really make the Spurs dangerous.
Yep.
He knows how to play. You can put him anywhere on the floor. And if it's Conley,
reunited with his brother too.
Exactly. I'd like to see, Mike in Indiana, even though I don't think Indiana has the assets that, Memphis is looking for. Memphis is going to be looking for cap relief. It's not about the talent. It's about the just, hey, time is time, okay? And we're not succeeding with these really, really big contracts on our roster, and we're willing to move them because we got to look forward.
Yeah. I have not looked at the numbers with the Detroit Pistons. I know that they're interested. I think Conley would be a great fit there. Just from a basketball standpoint, you could still play. I mean, basically, his role wouldn't change a whole lot. They play through Marc Gasol, and Mike Conley plays off that. He initiates the offense when need, but he's made himself into such a solid three-point shooter and a guy who can play without the ball that he could do the same thing off of Blake Griffin. And I'd love to see that. I think that combination would work. And he mentioned that he would rather go. How about this? What do you make of the fact that Mike Conley doesn't want to go to Utah, that he wants to play in the East?
I mean, that's man.
If there's any guy that I thought would be cool with Utah, Mike Conley's the kind of guy that I thought would be cool with Utah. That surprised me a little bit.
You can definitely fit in Utah, but you're saying, man, give myself a chance at the finals because the West, you're going to see Golden State somewhere, and Utah's not the most amazing city. So I'm sure he's probably got a list of destinations and, probably working with Chris Wallace and saying, hey, what can I do here so this works for me and it works for you? I've done too much for you for you to just take the best deal and throw me anywhere. And to me, that's where you owe your star, like, hey, thank you for what you've done. And when I look at the Pelicans that we talked about earlier, where's the respect for what Anthony Davis has done for you? I hate that this I own you, I paid you, you're mine type of mentality when it comes to these athletes.
So here's the other thing that Rich told me, which is why he went public with the trade, that they wanted to be traded. Because he was concerned that Anthony is not a confrontational guy. He wasn't going to screw them up. And that Dell knew that. And if they tried to keep it on the down low in terms of wanting out, that Dell would have told ownership, hey, don't respond. Like, let's let this chill. We can fix it. We can make it better. And Rich knew that AD wanted to change. So he felt like, I got to go to the wall. I got to make an announcement because otherwise it's not going to push the Pelicans to make a move. And we kind of saw the same thing with Jimmy Butler and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Timberwolves knew months in advance that Jimmy was not re-signing there. Tibbs was told that. And he didn't pass it along because essentially he thought that he could change Jimmy's mind. So, all right. That's it for this edition of Bucher and Holland, subsidiary of Bucher Friends, part of the United WeCast Network. We have 2 other great podcasts on the network. Check them out. Get Some by comedian actor Gary Owen and Age Groupie by Lindsay Hyken. Both are quality listens. You should check them out. You can check them out on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. Also, go to bucherandfriends.com. We have a survey link there. It takes a couple minutes, and if you fill it out for us so we get to know who it is that's listening to the show, you will be eligible for a $50 gift card to Amazon. In our next podcast, we'll be on the other side of the trade deadline. So we will break down whatever happens from here to there, as well as giving you our Friday night picks. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.